I was walking down the stairs of my house. I was extremely nervous because I was about to make a decision that would alter the course of my life forever. I had decided that now was the time for me to say to my father that I wanted to start a YouTube channel. Earlier, I hadn't had the courage to express my dreams and my ambitions to start a YouTube channel because I wanted to influence and pass on knowledge to other people. My parents weren't really knowing about me being on a journey towards becoming a better version of myself, trying to influence other people in a positive direction. But in here, I was already a YouTuber and I wanted to start my channel right now. So I went down these stairs and I explained to my father. It turned into a few hours of a long conversation. I think it was one of the first moments in my own life where I was genuinely authentic with what I was doing, and I was also expressing what I was believing about certain subjects. A few days later, I get home to my mom's apartment, which I'm recording in right now, and I say the same thing to her. And both of them were a little bit confused in the beginning, and we went on a walk and we spoke a little bit more about it. And she was a little bit skeptical and she needed to think about it for a few moments. And the time passed and I didn't really ask my parents anymore about it because I was a little bit afraid and I was a little bit nervous. Because at that time I'd been experiencing a little bit of bullying. A few things had been a little bit hectic in my life, so I wasn't the person who was actually going to be extremely courageous with this just because there was other things that bothered me at that time. So it was in February last year which I finally decided to start my YouTube channel, and I was courageous enough to go down and pursue my own path with going towards starting a YouTube channel, which was extremely scary because imagine when you're not native in English and you're not really talented in speaking in front of a camera. Nobody is. Like, when you start something new that is going to alter the course of your life and could perhaps lead to bullying, people making fun of you, not really fitting in, that's one of the worst feelings. And there was a study made on this, which simply states that the most feared emotion to feel is not really like anxiety or whatever. It's public humiliation, basically when other people are making fun of you when you are in a huge crowd. And this was something that was extremely on the edge for me because I was close to this when I started my YouTube channel. And my first ever football training afterwards, I thought, what if somebody has seen my first ever video? But nobody has. And I haven't actually experienced this to that point. But how did I become courageous enough to actually pursue my own path? Because what you have to understand is that many people who have dreams and goals and ambitions, they don't pursue it because either they lack courage or they lack action taking and actually being able to go forward and persist and being very forceful with life, and you take it in your own direction. So how do you become courageous? The first step that I was lacking was accountability. I hadn't somebody else who I could rely on who could actually trust me and could help me and destroy my limiting beliefs. If you are the person who needs a little bit more of accountability, you can book a free call with me in the link in the description, and I will personally help you out with this pain of like you don't really feel enough courageous and you don't know how to express to your parents that maybe you want to start a business or you don't want to go to college or whatever. I can help you out with this because now I can take uncomfortable conversations anytime possible, even though it is scary for me to this point. So you need some sort of accountability. It can be a friend, whatever. But if you don't have anyone, you can contact me and I will happily help you out with this because I want to understand other people's like problems and stuff like that as well, because this is a part of my journey to be able to influence other people in a positive direction. So accountability, and what are some other things regarding accountability? Start taking small steps towards actually expressing you that you're trying to improve yourself and trying to make something of yourself. And that can, for example, be setting up some papers on your wall with a habit tracker. This can seem very scary, and it took me a very long time for me to actually be courageous enough to do this. Usually I had it in my phone, but it didn't really work. So go and take a small action today. It can be setting up a paper on your wall. I don't have like the papers on this wall right here, but I have it more towards this side. If you've seen my earlier camera angles where I had my camera kind of like here, then you would be able to see my papers on the wall. And have just a habit tracker, and if somebody in your family makes fun of you or whatever, just try to ignore it, because this is who you are, and don't try to hide your authentic self. Because the most important thing in life, in my opinion, is actually being able to express the things that feel authentic to you and that feel genuine to you. Because if you don't express that, what are you even living for? Because you need to have something that you're actually waking up every day that feels like a calling in your own life. And these are a few accountability steps that you can take. And the more you try to deliberately practice having somebody who's accountable for you, then you will actually make progress towards your goals. And this is a very, very powerful tactic that I personally used. Step 2 would be think of the future version of you. Think of the version of you when you're older, maybe you're 50 years old, and think back to your life. Either you are this person who actually pursued their dreams when they were young, or they didn't actually pursue it, and now they're just like, they have this very, very, very big regret just because they didn't take action on their goals and they didn't pursue what they said they wanted to do. And imagine that version of you. Think of that version of you and think to yourself, how would that version of me feel when I didn't pursue it? Because imagine just the small, like, comment or whatever that you will get right now, and compare that to the infinite regret that you will feel when you're older. Because you only get to play life once. So you might as well just make it worthwhile once you're here, because you're only here for a very, very limited amount of time. And I'm not saying this for you to feel a little bit grey or dull. I'm saying this to empower you, because you can literally create and dictate what reality has to show for you. So make that decision, and the more you make the decision of the version of you that you want to become, the more you will become it, because you start to dictate where you're ending up in life. Another thing that I want to touch on here is that you will do it. You will do it no matter what. I know that someday you will actually express this. Because let's say this, if you're under 20, or even if you're under 30, the average life right now is 75 years. And in many Western countries, there are people live till they're like 80. So you're probably, if it all goes right, going to live at least like 50 more years if you're 30 years old right now. And that means that you've only lived like a third of your own life. And if you haven't already expressed it, and how close you are to actually expressing it right now when you are young, it means that you will do it someday. And just start to take action, because everybody is obsessed with their own insecurities. I want to touch on this because every single person that you see on the street, or in your class, or in your workplace, or whatever, think of them. I promise you that they are not evaluating what you are doing unless you're doing something like crazy or whatever. Because most people are just obsessed with their own stuff. They have their own things that they're thinking about all the time. And for example, for me, if I think about my hair, oh, my hair looks, I don't really like how my hair looks today or whatever. Every single person has a thought of that. So everybody's obsessed with their own insecurities. So they won't even take time to actually think of other people's insecurities or what they may be doing wrong. And once you understand this becomes extremely empowering, because everybody's just focused on their own shit. Because their life is about them and your life is about you. So start living like it. And don't be afraid to actually express the things that feel authentic and true to you. And the more you start to do this, and the more you gain repetitions in something, this is how you start to level up. You just need to take enough actions to actually gain control. And the more you do this, the more you will gain skill levels in this. Because if you've experienced, for example, public humiliation, the next time it happens, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if it happens one more time, you will be prepared for it because you've already lived through it. And imagine if you do the same thing with your own journey to becoming a better version of yourself or starting that business or whatever it is. Because this is how I have managed to go from playing video games like 4, 5, 6 hours per day to now I am a person who can express my honest self. I have a YouTube channel, which is a rather strange thing when you think about it. Even though I've not gotten hundreds of thousands of subscribers or whatever, I still do it because it's genuinely authentic to me and I love doing it even though I don't have the biggest audience. And this is just my mental framework that I've tried to possess, is that you just need to stack enough action to prove to yourself that you can actually do this. And over the years, you will get it done. This was all I have to say for today. I really do hope that you got some value out of this video, and I'll see you in the next one.